In my 35 years on the bench here in Providence, Rhode Island, I've seen just about every kind of hardship walk through that courtroom door. But when Sarah Bennett approached my bench that cold January morning, barely holding herself together while clutching a crumpled tissue in one hand, I knew this case was going to stay with me. A young mother of two, standing before me for unpaid parking tickets, about to break down completely. What she told me next would shake everyone in that courtroom to their core. If you believe compassion has a place in our justice system, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens in the next few minutes will restore your faith in humanity. The file in front of me showed 3 parking violations totaling $275. Sarah Bennett, age 27. When I looked up from those papers, I saw a young woman who looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Dark circles under her eyes, shoulders hunched forward like she was carrying the weight of the world. Her clothes were clean but worn, and I noticed her winter coat had a tear in the sleeve that someone had tried to mend with mismatched thread. These are the details you notice after 3 decades of looking at people really looking at them. "Ms. Bennett," I said gently because I could already see the tears forming in her eyes, "I see you have 3 parking tickets here going back several months. Can you tell me what's been happening? Why haven't these been taken care of?" She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first, just a small, strangled sound. Then the tears started flowing, and she couldn't stop them. She tried to wipe them away with that crumpled tissue, tried to compose herself, but the dam had broken. I've been doing this long enough to know the difference between manipulative tears and genuine anguish. These were real. This woman was drowning, and those parking tickets were just one more weight pulling her under. "I'm sorry," she managed to say between sobs. "I'm so sorry, Your Honor. I know I should have paid them. I know I'm in the wrong. Everything fell apart." I leaned forward, softening my voice even more. "Take your time. Take a breath. Let me ask you something. What's going on in your life right now? Help me understand." Before I continue with what she told me, leave a comment below about a time someone showed you mercy when you needed it most. These stories matter. They remind us we're all human. Now let me tell you what Sarah said next. She took a shaky breath and tried to steady herself. "Your Honor, I'm a single mother with 2 kids, a 4-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. 6 months ago, my husband, he didn't leave us. He died. Heart attack at 32 years old. Just collapsed at work one day and never came home." Her voice cracked on those last words, and I felt something tighten in my chest. I thought about my own children, my grandchildren, how fragile life really is. "I'm so sorry for your loss," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. That must have been devastating. "It destroyed us," she said quietly, almost ashamed, as if grief was something to apologize for. "He was the main breadwinner. I was working part-time at a dental office so I could be home with the kids more. When he died, I lost everything. His life insurance barely covered the funeral costs. I had to move out of our apartment because I couldn't afford the rent. We're staying with my sister now, all 3 of us in her spare bedroom. I picked up a second job, but I'm still barely making it." Inspector Quinn, who's been with me longer than I care to admit, glanced up from his paperwork with that look I know so well. He's got a good heart, Quinn does. He could see where this was heading just like I could. "These parking tickets," I said, looking at the dates and locations. "Tell me about these." Sarah wiped her eyes again, trying to pull herself together. "They're all from the hospital parking lot. Rhode Island Hospital. After my husband died, I started having panic attacks. Couldn't breathe, thought I was dying too. I've been going to therapy there, free counseling for grief and anxiety through their community program. It's the only thing keeping me functional for my kids. But the parking lot fills up fast, and sometimes I have to park on the street. The meters only take quarters, and She stopped, and I could see the shame washing over her face. "Sometimes I don't have quarters, Your Honor. Sometimes I have to choose between parking meter money and dinner for my kids." The courtroom went completely silent. I could feel it, that collective holding of breath when everyone realizes they're witnessing something profound. I looked at those parking tickets again, and suddenly they weren't just violations. They were evidence of a woman trying desperately to hold herself together so she could be there for her children. She was going to therapy, doing the hard work of healing, and we were punishing her for it. Share this video right now with someone who's struggling. Share it with anyone who needs to know that compassion still exists in this world, because what I'm about to say next, it's why I still do this work after all these years. "Let me ask you something else," I said. "Your children, how are they doing? How are they handling the loss of their father?" Sarah's face crumpled again. "They're so young, Your Honor. My son keeps asking when Daddy's coming home. He doesn't fully understand that never means never. And my daughter, she started having nightmares. She wakes up crying for her daddy 3 or 4 times a night. I'm trying to be strong for them, trying to keep everything normal, but I'm falling apart inside. Some days I don't know how I'm going to make it through, but I have to. They need me. They've already lost one parent. They can't lose both of us." My throat tightened. I thought about my own father, who came to this country from Italy with nothing but hope and determination. I thought about my mother, who worked her fingers to the bone to give us a better life. They taught me that family is everything, that you do whatever it takes to protect your children. Sarah was living those values every single day, and our system was adding to her burden instead of helping her carry it. What's your current work situation? I asked, though I suspected I already knew the answer wouldn't be good. I work at the dental office during the day, and I clean offices 3 nights a week after the kids go to bed. My sister watches them when I'm working nights. Between both jobs, I make about $2,000 a month. My sister isn't charging me rent, thank God, but I pay for groceries and help with utilities. After food, gas, my kids' needs, there's almost nothing left. These parking tickets, she looked down at her worn shoes. I've been getting notices. I know if I don't pay, they'll suspend my license. And if I lose my license, I lose my jobs. And if I lose my jobs, I don't know what happens to my babies. Hit that like button if you believe no parent should have to choose between getting help and feeding their children. And stay with me, because what happens next is going to surprise everyone in this courtroom. I sat back in my chair and really looked at Sarah Bennett, 27 years old, widow, single mother of 2 small children, working 2 jobs, going to therapy to deal with grief and panic attacks so she could be present for her kids, getting parking tickets because she literally didn't have quarters for the meter, and now standing in my courtroom, terrified that I was about to make her already impossible situation even worse. What am I going to do with you, Sarah? I thought. What kind of judge would I be if I added to your suffering? The prosecutor, a young man named Michael, who I've always respected for his fairness, stood up. Your Honor, given Ms. Bennett's circumstances, the city would be amenable to a payment plan, perhaps $50 a month until the fines are paid. $50 a month. For most people, that might sound reasonable, but I was looking at a woman who was choosing between quarters for a parking meter and dinner for her children. $50 a month might as well have been $5,000. Ms. Bennett, I said, and my voice came out rougher than I intended because I was fighting my own emotions, let me tell you what I see here. I don't see someone who's trying to beat the system or avoid responsibility. I see a young mother who lost her husband, who's working 2 jobs, who's getting the help she needs so she can be there for her children. I see someone who got parking tickets while going to therapy that's keeping her afloat so she can take care of 2 kids who just lost their father. Do you know what I don't see? I don't see someone who deserves to be punished. Sarah looked up at me, hope and disbelief mixing in her red-rimmed eyes. Your Honor, I'm not finished, I said gently. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've seen thousands of cases, heard thousands of stories. Some people come in here with excuses. You came in here with reasons. There's a big difference. You're doing everything right in circumstances that would break most people. You're working, you're getting help, you're taking care of your children. The only thing you're guilty of is not having enough quarters for a parking meter while you were trying to keep yourself together for your kids. I picked up my pen, and everyone in the courtroom leaned forward slightly. This is the moment they were waiting for. The moment of decision. The moment where justice either adds to the burden or lifts it. I'm dismissing all 3 tickets, completely. You don't owe the city anything. The sound Sarah made was somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Her knees actually buckled, and the bailiff moved forward to steady her. You're dismissing them? All of them? All of them. The violations are vacated. You have enough to worry about without adding this to your plate. She was crying again, but these were different tears. Relief, gratitude, the kind of tears that come when someone shows you mercy in your darkest moment. Thank you, she kept saying over and over. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means. I've been so scared. Thank you. But I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Inspector Quinn, would you come up here, please? Quinn approached the bench, and I wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to him. He read it, smiled that knowing smile of his, and nodded. He left the courtroom briefly and returned with a woman I'd called before the session started, Dr. Patricia Chen, the Director of Community Services at Rhode Island Hospital. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more stories where judges remember they're dealing with human beings, not just case numbers. Subscribe if you believe compassion should be part of justice, because what I'm about to do next, this is why I still put on this robe every morning. Dr. Chen, I said, thank you for coming. I wanted to introduce you to Sarah Bennett. Sarah, Dr. Chen runs the community services program at the hospital, including the grief counseling you've been attending. Sarah looked confused, wiping her tears, trying to understand what was happening. Dr. Chen smiled warmly at her. Ms. Bennett, Judge Caprio called me this morning and told me about your situation. I had no idea you were getting parking tickets while coming to our program. That's completely unacceptable. We're supposed to be helping you, not making your life harder. It's not your fault, Sarah said quickly. The program has been wonderful. It's the only thing that's helped. Nevertheless, Dr. Chen continued, I've arranged for you to have a parking pass for the hospital lot. Reserved spot, 6 months, no charge. You'll never have to worry about parking tickets when you come to therapy again. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. A parking pass? For free? I can't. That's too much. It's what should have been offered from the beginning, Dr. Chen said firmly. You're a patient in our program. You're dealing with grief and trauma. The last thing you need is stress about parking. Consider it done. I watched Sarah struggle to process this, watched her trying to hold back fresh tears, but I still had one more thing up my sleeve. I pulled out an envelope that Inspector Quinn had prepared based on my morning phone calls. Sarah, I said, there's something else. There's a fund here in Providence. It's privately funded by people in the community who want to help families in crisis. I've spoken with them about your situation. In this envelope is information about their emergency assistance program. They can help with things like groceries, kids' clothing, school supplies. They also have connections to better paying job opportunities and affordable childcare resources. I want you to call them. She took the envelope with shaking hands. I don't understand. Why are you doing all this? I just came here about parking tickets. Because you deserve help, not punishment, I told her. Because you're doing everything right and you still can't get ahead, and that's not fair. Because your children need their mother to be okay, and you can't be okay if you're drowning in worry about parking tickets and bills and how you're going to make it through another day. Let me tell you something, my friends. This is what justice should look like. Not just rules and punishments, but wisdom. Not just enforcing the law, but recognizing humanity. Leave a comment and tell me about a time you needed help and someone came through for you. Sarah was openly weeping now. I don't know what to say. I came here expecting the worst, and instead, I don't know how to thank you. You thank me by taking care of those kids, I said. You thank me by using these resources and building a better life for your family. You thank me by remembering this moment the next time you see someone struggling and you have a chance to help them. That's all I ask. She nodded, clutching the envelope and the parking pass information like they were the most precious things in the world. I will. I promise I will. God bless you, Judge Caprio. God bless you. God bless you too, Sarah. Take care of yourself. You're a good mother. You're a strong woman. Don't ever doubt that. As she left the courtroom, still crying, I saw Inspector Quinn wiping his own eyes. I saw people in the gallery, strangers who'd just come to observe court proceedings, dabbing at their faces with tissues. The prosecutor, Michael, gave me a nod that said he understood exactly why I'd done what I did. This is the part they don't show you on TV legal dramas. This is the real human cost of poverty and tragedy, and the real power we have to either add to people's suffering or alleviate it. After the session ended, Quinn came up to the bench. Judge, that was something special. That woman needed help, not fines. She did, I agreed. You know what struck me most, Quinn? She wasn't making excuses. She wasn't trying to game the system. She was just honestly telling me she didn't have quarters for a parking meter because she was choosing to feed her kids instead. How do you punish someone for that? How do you look at that situation and think, yes, let's add $275 to her burden? I couldn't do it. My conscience wouldn't let me. Your parents would be proud, Quinn said quietly. He knew my story, knew my father came here from Italy with nothing, knew my mother worked multiple jobs to keep us fed. They taught you right. They did. They taught me that everyone deserves dignity, that circumstances matter, that the measure of a society is how it treats people when they're down, that justice without mercy isn't justice at all. It's just cruelty dressed up in legal language. Share this video with a single parent who's struggling. Share it with anyone who feels like they're drowning and no one cares. Because these stories need to be told. These moments need to be shared. People need to know that compassion still exists in our justice system. That evening, I went home and told my wife about Sarah. We sat at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd raised our own children, and we talked about how lucky we'd been, how different our struggles had been, how easily any of us could end up in Sarah's position, one tragedy away from losing everything. You did the right thing, Frank, my wife said, squeezing my hand. That's why you became a judge, to help people. I just wish I could do more, I told her. There are so many Sarahs out there, so many people working themselves to death and still can't get ahead, so many families one emergency away from disaster. You helped this one, she reminded me. That matters. It matters to her, it matters to her children. She was right, of course. You can't help everyone, but you can help the person standing in front of you. You can make one person's burden a little lighter, and maybe if enough people in positions of authority start thinking that way, we can change the whole system. About 2 months later, I got a letter at the courthouse. It was from Sarah, written in careful handwriting on simple notebook paper. She wrote, Dear Judge Caprio, I wanted you to know what's happened since that day in your courtroom. The parking pass from the hospital means I can go to therapy without fear. My anxiety is getting better. The Emergency Assistance Fund helped us get through a really tough month, and they connected me with a better job opportunity. I'm now working as a dental hygienist assistant with better pay and benefits, and I only need one job instead of two. My kids are doing better too. My son is starting to accept that his daddy isn't coming back, and my daughter's nightmares are less frequent. We're not where we want to be yet, but we're getting there, and it started with you. You saw me as a person, not just a case number. You treated me with dignity when I expected judgment. You gave me hope when I had none left. My children and I will never forget what you did for us. You restored my faith that good people still exist in this world. Thank you for being one of them. I had to put that letter down because I couldn't see the words anymore through the tears in my eyes. This is why I do this work. This is why, after 35 years, I still care about every single person who walks through that courtroom door. Because we have power, those of us in positions of authority, and we can choose what we do with that power. We can use it to hurt or to help. We can use it to crush people who are already down, or we can use it to lift them up. I choose to lift them up. Every single time I can, I choose mercy over rigid rules. I choose compassion over cold enforcement. I choose to see the human being, not just the violation. That's not being soft on crime. That's not ignoring the law. That's using wisdom and discretion, the very things judges are supposed to have to serve justice in its truest form. Sarah Bennett didn't need punishment. She needed help. She needed someone to see her struggle and say, I understand. You're doing your best. Let me make this a little easier for you. That's what I tried to do. That's what I'll keep doing as long as I'm sitting on this bench. Let me tell you something, my friends, and I want you to really hear this. In 35 years on the bench in Providence, Rhode Island, I've learned that the law is important, but it's not everything. The law gives us structure. Yes, it gives us guidelines and consequences. But the law is supposed to serve people, not the other way around. When we lose sight of that, when we start treating people like they're just obstacles to the efficient processing of cases, we've lost the whole point of what justice is supposed to be. Justice is supposed to be fair, and there's nothing fair about kicking someone when they're already down. There's nothing fair about punishing a widow for not having quarters for a parking meter while she's trying to get therapy so she can be there for her kids. There's nothing fair about a system that makes it almost impossible for people to climb out of poverty and then penalizes them for being poor. I can't fix the whole system. I'm just one judge in one small courtroom in Providence. But I can fix it for the person standing in front of me. I can use whatever power and discretion I have to make their burden a little lighter. And if every judge, every person in authority, every human being with the power to help someone else chose to do that, imagine what kind of world we'd live in. That's the world I want to help create. That's the world my parents dreamed of when they came to this country. That's the world I'm trying to build, one case at a time, one person at a time, one moment of mercy at a time. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And remember, when you have the power to help someone, use it. When you have the choice between adding to someone's burden or lifting it, choose to lift. When you see someone struggling, don't judge them, help them. That's what we're here for. That's what it means to be human. Tell me in the comments what you would have done in my position. And remember, next week there's another story from my courtroom that will touch your heart. Until then, be kind to each other. We're all fighting battles nobody knows about.